bonjour.
Piggy, it's Kermit.
Kermit, chérie, how are vous?
Terrible. The show's started. Where are you?
Oh, Kermit, I am so sorry. But right now, I'm in an important business meeting with, some of the movie executives. You know, showbiz.
Piggy, this is a picture phone. We can see you.
Ah!
Hello?
Fozzie, where are you?
Kermit! Oh, Kermit, I don't know where I am. I'm sorry, but I cannot make it to the show because I'm completely and totally and utterly lost.
Well, Fozzie, see that green door behind you?
Yes?
Go through it.
Ah, okay. I'm going through it.
The World of Jim Henson.
Coming right up on great performances.
Very nicely done.
Thank you.
Kermit.
What?
Don't look now.
Yeah.
Don't look. Don't look. But there is somebody underneath me.
What?
Don't look. Oh, you know what? There's somebody underneath you too.
What?
You know what? He's got a beard.
A lot of people worry if they see the performer in the same shot with a puppet character. It's been my experience that the character himself is really what's interesting. That if I'm sitting here working Kermit, which I've done on the Carson show and things like that, that people don't really pay attention to me, you know. I'm not a ventriloquist, and I don't try to hide the fact that my lips move, but the truth of the matter is that the frog is a great deal more interesting to look at, and who notices what the bearded man is doing? Magic of what television was is what first made me want to work in television, and puppetry was just a way of getting a job on a television station. And because I heard of a TV station that was looking for a puppeteer, I was in high school at the time, and television was in its early days, so I made a couple of puppets and auditioned and got a job, and that's kind of how it all started.
Salmon Friends. Brought to you by SK.
The platter they're playing on this TV show seems to have gotten stuck. Maybe if I just hit the television like this.
All black magic has me in a spell.
Oh, black magic that you weave so well.
It was a puppet show for grown-ups. It was on at 11:25 at night. There wasn't a kid watching it in those days. Sometimes it was completely zany sketch comedies. Other times it was sort of sophomoric record pantomimes. And it attracted this huge following in Washington, D.C., of all places, where everybody watched the news.
Good evening. I'm Ed Burrow, and the name of the show is Poison to Poison. Tonight, we're visiting the home of a very famous motion picture and television director.
In the 50s, there was a whole thing called sick humor that we certainly worked the edges of. You know, Jim was the gentlest man, but he loved the little wicked senses of humor.
Are you there, Alfred?
Good evening, Ed, and welcome to my humble little sanctuary.
Alfred, you have a very fascinating home.
Thank you, Ed.
And exquisitely furnished, may I add. For instance, that armchair you're sitting in is very striking.
And very expensive, too.
Why is it so expensive?
It's made out of real arms.
I think Jim's enthusiasm about things like that, trying new things, was very contagious all the time, and it really energized people. So that if he came into a control room or a studio and had ideas of wanting to do things, he had a very gentle, quiet way of going about it, but at the same time, he intrigued people. He'd say, can we do this? Could we do that? And everybody go, oh, let's do that. You know, and it became, let's play with the media.
5.
Hey, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm taking a course in visual thinking. It teaches you how to visualize your thoughts. Watch. Q. See that?
Man, you're just a beginner. I'm an old hand at this stuff. Watch.
Hey, a real watch.
With moving parts, no less.
Here was something very original. It was basically akin to someone putting their hand in a sock and putting a couple of eyes and making a mouth. And out of this simple form emerged these characters, of course, with the man behind them's a personality, a kind of sly humor, and something just connected or gelled or snapped that captured the imagination.
One of the things Jim did in that amazing career was to really just remake puppetry. To make the comparison, D.W. Griffith came along in the early part of the century, and he saw actors and dramatic storytelling, and he saw the whole film medium, and he put the two together and created something completely different. And nobody had ever made that same transition with puppet theater. They had always kept the puppet theater behind the little proscenium or behind the little ledge, and never made the logical assumption that you could do the same thing. Jim threw all that away immediately. And now suddenly, you could get very, very close to a puppet, and that allowed Jim to start working with these very flexible faces. Watch Kermit the Frog in tight close-ups, and you'll see him run a gamut of emotions with little changes that are just tiny.
It's certainly not a career that one would plan. You know, you wouldn't decide to become a puppeteer, I don't think, in your life. I was interested in television, in films, in art, and actually then when I went into puppetry, I found that I could combine all of this stuff.
I think he believed in his own ideas, he believed in his talent, he believed in his skill, he believed in himself, and he believed in the people that he worked with.
Don, you build most of these characters. Why don't you talk about how you go about building a puppet?
Well, I usually start with a sketch of Jim's, and it might be nice if you could do a rough sketch.
I'll do a rough sketch.
One of our puppets.
Okay.
And I'll take it from there.
Usually, Jim would have some very quick or simple sketch, but it would have a spirit about it.
I rely on Jim's sketches a great deal to capture the essence of the Muppets, because I believe they exist in the initial sketch.
And then Donald Saline would build to that sketch, and the way he put the eyes and the way he built the mouth and such established the character to a certain extent, and then that character would be taken by the puppeteer.
See, we can... Okay. Here's the plan.
What a strange-looking creature this is. 30 days, past September.
And I'm wearing a fifth helmet because I just come back from Africa, you know.
What did you do in Africa?
I was big game hunting in Africa,
You
fella.
were big game hunting?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, what game?
Monopoly.
He was extraordinary leader because he was so quiet. I remember the first time I came to New York. I grew up in an emotional household. My mother Flemish, my father Dutch, and on the table, instead of pass the butter, it'd be pass the butter. You know, that's what I grew up with. Pass the butter. And I went to New York, and Jerry Jewell and Jim picked me up in the station wagon, and Jim was driving right here, and I was right next to him, and Jim was talking like this. Well, it's really nice to, and I thought I was deaf.
Immediately, Jim and Frank started performing very well together. And almost the first thing that Frank did was to play the extra hand of Ralph, who then had a weekly spot on Jimmy Dean's show.
I remember every show, we'd be up there with the writers and rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing, and Jim had a good training period. Jim was not a man who liked to be told what to do. He was more of a free spirit. Not that he was rebellious, it's just that he couldn't contain this energy of wanting to do something new and fresh himself. But he heard it from them, and he took it because he knew it was these were old guard comedy writers who knew how to deliver punchlines.
Left cross, right cross, left cross, right cross, left cross, right cross, left cross, right cross. And if he hits me, blue cross, red cross.
Well, wait. Come here. Look, I'm going to help you. Wait, open wide. Open wide. Let's see. There. Now.
Hey, what happened to the popsicle?
Now, open wide. Ha, 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 ha.
Hey, Doc, there's a hole in your headlight.
Now, get out of here. Now then, Ralph, you got to save Lassie. So run to her.
I gotta run.
Run. Yeah. Faster.
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 And now you come to the river.
I come to a river.
And you got to fight the current. And you're swimming.
I'm swimming. Here's a backstroke. It's like Esther Williams.
All right, wait. You're on the other side. You're on the other side.
I'm on the other side.
Now run.
I got water in my ear. Okay, now I'm running again.
All right, now you're running.
I'm running.
Now you're going faster.
Faster.
Lickety split.
I'm lickety split.
What's the matter?
I think I just split my lickety.
Come on. Now, suddenly, Lassie sees a villain about to blow up the bridge.
What bridge? Now he tells me after I practically drowned in the Crumbie River.
Ready? Now, I'm telling you, this can't miss. This is the great. Let's see. It says, this spray is guaranteed to soothe throat irritation. It will also relieve infection of tissues and is extremely effective in severe cases of laryngitis. For best results, use at room temperature and spray gently over the entire throat. What the heck happened?
My belly button blew out.
The exposure of Ralph was pretty significant, I think. It was the first real countrywide, because of the network appearances, countrywide acceptance of one of Jim's characters.
Whenever a pretty lady kisses a frog, why, the frog is just liable to turn into a handsome prince.
Oh, Kermit,
I wouldn't want that to
that's
happen,
just
you
a
know.
fairy tale.
I like
And
myself
besides,
the way I
that
am.
couldn't happen to you because I wouldn't let it happen because I love you just the way you are. So I'm going to kiss you.
Well, be careful.
Come on. I told you nothing would happen.
Goldie! Goldie! How are you at handling shocking news?
Why, Kermit?
Well, take a look at yourself in the mirror here. Not too good at handling shocking news.
One of the things that the Muppets were already famous for was short, funny commercials. You had 6.5 seconds of audio in which to sell a product and tell a joke.
What you doing? I'm kneading Clausen's bread. Oh, who needs it?
If ordinary dog foods leave you flat, try Purina Dog Chow, right?
Right.
Who knows better than we do about our feeling of pride? 'Cause we've got marathon gasoline surging inside.
What do you feed 12 hungry Cub Scouts?
May I make a suggestion?
Who are you?
I'm the LaChoy Dragon.
Yeah, a real dragon.
What you need is LaChoy Chow Mein.
He always knew from the very beginning that commerce and art were a symbiotic duo, that he had to make the money in commercials to do the stuff he wanted to do. I know that in the beginning he really wanted to get more into film. So Timepiece was an extraordinary experience for all of us. It was Jim's movie. He storyboarded the whole thing.
Jim was not really basically a rule breaker. He was not a rebel. But he always saw the rules and the systems and everything else that were being handed out as being, you know, a little questionable and a little absurd. And like, oh, really? That's how it is? I don't think so.
Timepiece is about time and about a man running. And Jim, I understand that about Jim. Jim was always running from time. There just never was enough time for Jim. There never would have been enough time. And I think he knew that really early. And I think Timepiece is about that.
Jim Henson belonged to the second generation. He came along after the pioneers had sort of said, well, we've got this new medium, what are we going to do with it? And they produced some pretty nice things. And then he came along and produced something far more enduring.
Now, what starts with the letter C? Cookie starts with C. Let's think of other things that starts with C. Who cares about the other things? C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. Oh, cookie, cookie, cookie starts with C. Oh.
I love trash. Anything dirty or dingy or dusty.
I'm fuzzy and blue. You see, I'm fuzzy and blue. Yay me, I'm happy to be so fuzzy and blue.
I love my elbows. Let's get straight to the point. I love my elbows. Yeah, they're my favorite joint.
Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? How to get to Sesame Street? How to get to Sesame Street?
From the very beginning of Sesame Street, Jim was fascinated with the concept. He latched on immediately to the idea that was being developed by Joan Gans Cooney. She was convinced that what was fun and entertaining in television could also be used to teach. She'd seen Jim's commercials and loved them, and jumped at my suggestion that we bring him and his Muppets on board.
What they wanted to do was to take and use some of the techniques that had been created for commercials and for television and apply them to this preschool, to the preschool kid.
1, 2,
3 balls.
1, 2, 3. 3 peas. 1, 2, 3.
We had a number of meetings and seminars about what we would be doing with this television show, and one of the thoughts would be to create a character that the child could live through.
Hey, Crystal. Let's teach everybody the difference between big and little. Let's see. I'll be little and you be big, okay? Who's bigger?
Me.
Well, let me look. No, I'm afraid I'm still biggest. Do you have any ideas?
I do.
What?
I'll be little and you be big.
Ah!
Jim had always thought of doing a puppet, a big bird puppet like this. We had talked about it before Sesame Street just as an abstract concept, and here was the perfect opportunity. So Jim did a sketch of how the bird would look and how the puppeteer inside would be working with no vision at all. And the way that worked is to put on the chest of the puppeteer inside the bird a little television monitor, just, you know, yay big, so that the puppeteer has his hand in the head of the bird, he's watching himself on television, and he is talking into the wireless microphone. And it was Jim's design, top to bottom.
Big Bird, in theory, is himself the child, you know, and we wanted to make this great, big, silly, awkward creature that would make the same kind of dumb mistakes that kids make.
Abkadefki Jekyllmanopquerstuvixes is the most remarkable word I've ever seen. Abkadefki Jekyllmanopquerstuvixes. I wish I knew exactly what I mean.
You like to count?
Yeah.
Me too. I'm good at counting too. Do you suppose we could count together?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go first and you go second, okay?
Okay.
I'll do the first one and then you.
I go first.
Oh, you want to go first?
Second.
Okay, you go first.
12.
12.
13.
13.
14.
14. 15. What's after 15?
After 15.
After 15 comes 16.
Oh, God, that's
16.
It's not unlike the way a parent, no matter what you do as a parent, anytime you're sort of talking with your kids, you're really teaching them, you know. All the time you're talking, you're conveying your feelings about life, you know, and that's really that kind of thing that we're trying to do.
And listen, we thought we would talk to you a little bit about the concept of being next to, you see? Now then, right there, you see, Charla is next to Fanny, right? Because they're right close together, you see? So they are next to each other. Now, Kermit the Frog is next to Charla.
I know that.
Ooh,
But that... Oh, that's good. I love hugs. Now, could you do one more thing for me? What I really love in the world is scratching my tummy. Would you scratch my tummy? Oh, this is so good! Oh, scratch a little higher. Oh, this is... Oh, you made the monster very happy.
And there was something so to the heart, something so simple you were astonished that it could be so simple and funny. The language could be so clear and disciplined. And he was a very disciplined artist, so what moved and what was said was thought about. If it was funny, it was by no accident.
Is this microphone on? Hi all, this is Kermit the Frog of Sesame Street News, and today I am standing at the base of the tower where the Princess Rapunzel is being held prisoner by the Wicked Witch.
Bernice, your move.
You're teaching a pigeon to play checkers?
Mm-hmm.
Why, that's amazing. That's the most incredible thing I've ever heard of.
Oh, Ernie, it's no big deal.
No big deal? Why, a pigeon that can play checkers, that must be the smartest pigeon in the whole world.
Well, she's really not that smart, Ernie.
Not that smart, Bert? How can you say that?
Well, in the 10 games we've played, she's only beaten me twice.
So much of what we're doing in terms of humor is interpersonal. It's two different personality types clashing with each other. And this happens at every age.
I love Sesame Street to this day. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about the program. It is accessible to children, but adults can watch it also without upchucking into the kitchen sink.
There was a bit of irony in the fact that suddenly in 1969, he became associated with the greatest children's hit in the history of television. Puppeteers traditionally are always, certainly in this society, are always automatically pigeonholed as children's performers. And it was exactly what Jim didn't want.
We would go to ad agency to ad agency with the black boxes and audition, or they would come to our studio and we would audition for them, and they would always say, gee, you know, I wish Bill was here to see this. And we have to do it again for Bill. And then Bill would say, gee, you know, Bob's the one who got to see this. We do it again for Bob. And nobody bought it because they thought the Muppets were just for kids.
It's Saturday Night Live.
Lorne Michaels came to Jim and asked him to be part of Saturday Night Live.
Oh, sweetheart.
Gildas! What are you doing?
Excuse me, ma'am. I was just on my way to the mighty Favog.
This is the mighty Favog. How many in your party?
After about 6 shows, our comedy styles didn't gel.
Jim started creating the concept for the Muppet Show. A much-told story about how this show was taken around all 3 of the American networks, who had no idea what to do with it.
I remember Jim taking me aside there in NBC and saying that we just got 24 half-hour shows guaranteed to do in London. It was great because basically he had his electric train. He could play.
That's the entertainment business. You have to have a feel. You have to have a hunch. You just can't simply go by words. If you read a script, you can't just go by the words that the script say. You have to visualize what can happen.
It's the Muppet Show!
Well, the Muppet Show, to a degree, was an overnight success, but like any overnight success, it took 20 years to get there.
It's time to light the light. It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight.
Hey, great, gee, now we can do all these songs and all these sketches, and, oh, by the way, like 200 million people are watching.
Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like a kind of torture to have to watch the show.
It's time to get things started
On the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, motivational. This is what we call the Muppet Show.
Leggies and Jungle Funds. Leggies and Jungle Funds? Yes, Leggies and Jungle Funds.
All right, so my typing is bad.
Leggies and Jungle Funds. Welcome again to the Muppet Shocks. My name is Kermit the Forg. The Forg?
Kermit, is it always like this on the show?
Oh, how do you mean?
Well, all this craziness.
Oh, well, this is actually a rather quiet show for us. No unforeseen disasters so far.
Hurry up, guys. All right.
Unforeseen disasters?
Well, that's a disaster we knew about all along.
I see a lot of myself in Kermit. Kermit is this scintillating questioner. Kermit is a bon vivant. Kermit is a frog about town. I think we all see a little bit of ourselves in Kermit and wish that we only had Kermit's panache.
Many of you people have been writing in to ask the question, can the frog tap dance? And, of course, the answer to that is, hit it. Happy feet, I've got those happy feet. Give them a low-down beat, and they begin dancing. I've got those 10 little tapping toes, and when they hear a tune, I can't control my dancing heels to save my soul. Weary blues can't get into my shoes, because my shoes refuse to ever grow weary. I keep cheerful on an earful of music sweet, 'cause I've got happy feet. Weary blues can't get into our shoes, because our shoes refuse to ever grow weary. We keep cheerful on an earful of music sweet, 'cause we've got happy feet. 'Cause we've got happy feet.
You know, what all of this is about is a way of looking at ourselves, and whether you're seeing yourself in a puppet or seeing some friend of yours or somebody that you know, we're all seeing ourselves in all of this work. It's what all this stuff is.
Very relaxed. I'm terribly calm and tranquil. I'm very, very relaxed indeed. On the outside, but on the inside, I'm like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, a never-ending beginning on an ever-spinning reel, just like a snowball down a mountain or a carnival balloon, or like a carousel that's turning, running rings around the moon. Cause like clockwork hands are sweeping past the minutes of its space, that the world is like an apple, burning silently in space, just like the circles that you find here in the windmills of your mind. Like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never-ending or beginning on an ever-spinning reel, just as the images unwind, just like a circle that you find here in the windmill of your mind. On the outside, I'm very calm.
Maybe a lot of the fun came from Jim. Just that he was an instigator of silliness, he was an instigator of fun, and the fun came not only from him, because the fish smells from the head, but the fun came from the chemistry and the affection of each other and the fact that we allowed our loony selves out. And he was the fellow who uncorked the bottle.
Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round, round, I get around, 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 I get around, round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round, round, I get around, I get around.
Frank Oz is involved in all aspects of the show, and his contribution to the development, to the humor of everything is just enormous.
That's okay, I can cope with this. After all, I am an important bear. I am capable, I am poised.
Hiya, Fozzie.
I am
Of course, his major contribution is still being a brilliant performer.
Nobody that I know has such a total grasp of character. Frank's comic abilities are extraordinary and so complemented Jim's comic abilities. I mean, that was the sort of magical thing about it.
Hey, I didn't know you could play the piano.
I didn't know it either.
I'll join in. Very good, here I go. This is my part.
When the two of them actually got to working as a team, you realize that it was like a Laurel and Hardy situation. These were just two guys who were meant to work together.
Together.
This is fun.
Ready?
What?
Modulate.
What's that?
Yeah, you did it.
Thank you. Whatever. On my hat.
Hey,
What do I do?
can you play Atlas?
What?
I say, can you play Atlas?
I don't know who wrote it.
Keep playing.
Yes, sir. Oh, that's how it works, huh?
Just play.
Yes, sir. Big finish. Watch out!
There's hundreds of different ways to build characters, but what's important to understand is all that is based on real craft that's been taken years and years to learn.
One of the main reasons that our characters work as well as they do is because we're watching them on the monitor. They have life that we're seeing this puppet just exactly as the audience is seeing it.
Yes, look at that. And it's all cheating because he's watching the monitor and he's not watching what I'm doing at all. And actually, I usually don't watch him either because normally we do this stuff in a single, you know. Two shots like this totally throw me, you know.
The characters in Muppets are made in different ways. Certainly, The design is important. How the character looks. That feeds you. That just feeds you. If a character is happy, sad, angry, fat, skinny.
I'm never coming back! I'm too delicate for show business.
The craft is your rocking chair. You lean back on so you can rest and then have the artistry.
This is Kermit Frog speaking to you from the planet Coosbane.
Then the writers are extremely important.
Traditional time of courtship of the Coosbanian creatures. We're waiting now for the male Coosbanian creature to make the first move. Hark, that may be him now. Now that is the wonk-wonk signal to the female creature. Let's see if she makes the traditional response. Yeah, that is the traditional response to the wonk-wonk. Oh, there she is, and what a beauty.
Well, that photographer said you were going to be on the big cover story of that big gossip paper, Tongue Magazine. Yeah.
Those characters do not work in a vacuum. It's extraordinarily important to have another character to play off of.
Piggy? Piggy?
Yes, mon chéri.
Piggy, have you been planting items about us in the gossip papers again?
What would make you think a thing like that?
The photographer who was just here, he was from Tongue Magazine.
Oh, well, it's a little teeny tiny item.
It was a cover story about us being secretly married.
It's only a slight exaggeration.
That's a bald-faced lie, Piggy.
Really,
I will not stand around while you do dumb things like that, Piggy. You have done that to me too many times, Piggy. I will not stand for it. I will not stand for it.
What are you going to do?
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Piggy. I'm going to fire you. Piggy, you are fired. You are fired. Piggy, you are fired. Fired.
I can talk for hours about character building. I can give you a lot of horsepucky about it. I can, a lot of intellectual talk about it. But the truth is, I don't know.
I said I can make a dress out of a food sack.
What do you do with a food sack dress?
Well, honey, I can make anything look good.
'Cause I'm a woman. W-O-M-A-N. Aha! Like to sing it again. Woo-hoo! 'Cause I'm a woman.
W-O-P-I-G.
And that's all. All right, get her out of here.
He was very disrespectful of the puppets in a very healthy way. He was not precious about them in a way, which makes us gag, totally gag.
I always think that the characters on The Muppet Show are basically totally dysfunctional, except that Kermit brought them in, made them part of this family, and because they functioned together, they worked. And that was certainly the sort of thing that Jim did a lot of.
How about you? Isn't there someone that you care about more than anything else in the world?
Oh, not that I can think of offhand. Those people watching us on TV, what it's like to play a love scene.
Piggy, I don't think we have time for this.
Yes, we do.
Zoom in on the pig.
Zoom in on the pig. I long for your lips, my darling. I crave for your kisses. Feel my heart. Race for your embrace.
Kiss me, you fool! Come on, what are you doing?
Zoom back.
Okay, come back. Go ahead. Kiss.
Piggy, I think the mood's sort of broken, don't you? I'll see you later.
I think a chat is definitely in order, Frog.
I think so, pig. You wanted to see me?
Well, if it isn't Francis Ford Frogula.
I feel that there is a list of people, a certain American sensibility that comes, from this combination of something simple and something fantastic, and he is in that tradition.
A tribute to Casablanca.
Last night we said a great many things.
You said I was to do the thinking for both of us. Well, I've done a lot of it since then, and it adds up to just one thing. You're getting on that plane with Victor, where you belong. If that plane leaves the ground and you're not on it, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon, and for the rest of your life. Look, I'm not good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Someday you'll understand that. Here's looking for you, kid.
If you look at a lot of the pieces of the Muppet Show that came from Jim, there was a tremendous sweetness about them. A tremendous sweetness. And that's unique to Jim. Jim was never wimpy. He had a strength in this sweetness. It was great.
It's not that easy being green. Having to spend each day the color of the leaves. When I think it could be nicer being red or yellow or gold, something much more colorful like that.
You know it's not that easy being green. It seems you blend in with so many other ordinary things. And people tend to pass you over, 'cause you're not standing out like flashing sparkles on the water or stars in the sky. Sing to me now.
But green's the color of spring. And green can be cool and friendly like.
Never know what you mean. Green can be big like an ocean. Important like a mountain.
That's right.
Tall like a tree.
Green is all there is to be. It could make you wonder why. But why wonder? Why wonder?
I'm green. And it'll do fine, 'cause it's beautiful. And I think it's what I wanna be.
There was a kind of quality that I think we had, particularly as we got through the Sesame years and moved into the Muppet Show years. There was a feeling in the team that we were doing something special. We were onto something.
Nothing was impossible. You know, nothing.
Have you ever been to Los Angeles?
Jim always believed that you could do more with the Muppets than other people thought you could. One of which is just shoot the Muppets outside in the real world.
Did you ever go to the movies? These are natives. They don't know much about movies.
Kermit, run. There's bulls all over the place here.
What?
There's bulls here.
There's bulls here?
Yes.
Ah! Wait a minute. Hey, but that's another story. Get it? Other story? You're a little off of it. Okay, I think I've milked this far enough, right, guys? Listen, we're just not blowing our horns here.
Hey, there's a great bunch of cows you got here.
No, not herd of cows.
No.
Not bunch. Oh, God.
I said, Jim, I hear you want to make a movie of the Muppets. Yes, I do. Or I'd very much like to. I put out my hand and I says, shook Jim's hand. I says, you've got a deal for Muppet movies.
We always used to kid him that having told everybody repeatedly that simple is good, Jim would turn around and try to produce the most complicated work in the world at the drop of a hat. And just about wipe out everybody, himself most of all, in the process.
Ever since the Muppet movie premiered, people have been asking me how the Muppets ride bicycles. Well, here's Kermit. He's a marionette here. That's a puppet that's worked on strings from above. And the marionettist is riding in a crane high overhead. Now, we would intercut this shot with a shot of a hand puppet version of Kermit.
Okay, you guys, now come on, do what I tell you. Don't step on that asphalt. I told you not to. Come on.
Hey, look at him.
Oh, what is it? Big leg.
Hey, you on the bike. Watch out. Watch out. Watch out.
Oh, my God.
Watch out. No.
That's pretty dangerous, building a road in the middle of the street. I mean, if frogs couldn't hop, I'd be gone with the Schwinn.
We found between the first Muppet movie and the second Muppet movie that everybody just, all they could remember, one of the main things they could remember was Kermit on a bicycle. They were just stunned and astounded. My father came up with this really complicated scene to do with Kermit and Piggy. Challenging people was one of the most fun things, I think, for my father. And with the bicycle scene, what the heck, have him ride in a figure eight and then go on. It really didn't make a big difference to the scene. He loved to just challenge him.
Yes, couldn't we ride side by side?
He always wanted to come up with something that has never been done before, and if people say, no, it can't be done, then that's for sure gonna be, you know, the challenge.
Look, Ma, no brains.
Now, when we needed to show a whole group of characters, we just tied all the bicycles together with rods. Then we could radio control the mouths of the characters and pull the whole thing along with strings.
Side by side.
The whole rig is being pulled from in front by two big tricycles. You have to look close because they're way down the road there, but one of those is being ridden by my son, Brian.
Just because probably in his typical way, he tried to come up with something impossible. We could see if we can figure out how to do it.
This, you know, all this is insane, but nobody else but Jim would do this.
Fantasy, Miss Piggy. Ecstasy, Miss Piggy. All that's fair or fine or wonderful or anything, Miss Piggy.
In order to be underwater and not float up the surface, I had a couple of bricks with ropes around them. Just before the take started, I breathed in the air. The underwater assistant took the tube away. I put my feet under the bricks, and then I would shoot the scene, and then the assistant would come with the air, and I'd breathe again.
All the world ever wanted was you. I dreamed of true. Ah, Miss Piggy.
Underneath the zaniness, there was a kind of decency that that the characters had about the world and to each other, and I think that's one of the real legacies that Jim left. At the core, there was always this kind of sense of social values and decency.
All right, Hopper.
All right, Frog. One last chance. You gonna do my TV commercials live or stuffed?
Hopper, what's the matter with you? You gotta be crazy chasing me halfway across the country. Why are you doing this to me?
'Cause all my life I wanted to own 1,000 frog leg restaurants, and you're the key, Greenie.
Yeah, well, I've got a dream, too. But it's about singing and dancing and making people happy. That's the kind of dream that gets better the more people you share it with. And, well, I found a whole bunch of friends who have the same dream. And it kind of makes us like a family. Do you have anybody like that, Hopper? I mean, once you get all those restaurants, who are you going to share it with? Who are your friends, Doc?
It certainly opened us up into a whole new world that allowed us a whole emotional range, which runs the gamut, thinking of the Muppet movie, from being able to actually put Fozzie at the wheel of an old Studebaker, with Kermit playing navigator sitting next to him and them riding across the country. that wonderful sense of the old buddy movie.
It's beautiful country out here.
A frog and a bear seeing America.
Moving right along in search of good times and good news. With good friends you can't lose.
This could become a habit.
Opportunity knocks once, let's reach out and grab it.
Yeah!
Understanding how big the characters had to become kind of iconographic figures, there are certainly a handful of moments that come to mind.
From Hollywood, The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. Johnny's guest host tonight is Kermit the Frog.
Today we all went to Disneyland, you know, Miss Piggy, Fozzie, and myself. The guard at the gate didn't want to let us out. You know, it looks sort of silly to see all those people running around dressed like, you know, a mouse and a duck.
Louder and funnier.
Yes, sir. I'm doing my best out here.
You're dying.
Moving right along. Footloose and fancy free.
Getting there is half the fun. Come share it with me.
Hello, Molly. How are you? Knock it off!
Sorry. Excuse me.
Hello, Molly.
I'm sorry.
What is wrong with the man? I thought 60 Minutes was a high-class show.
Well, I think
the man breaks up when he's talking to a star.
He's overwhelmed because of how pretty you are. He just fell apart.
I thought he was a good interviewer.
Yeah, well,
no.
He's just
Gonna fool me.
overwhelmed by your beauty.
All right, that's a wrap.
I'm tired.
Moving right along, dug-a-dug. Hey, L.A., where have you gone?
Send someone to fetch us. We're in Saskatchewan.
Tonight, a special Nightline. What's happening to the stock market and the economy?
We constantly refer to the market, as though we all knew what the market was.
Yes.
You do.
Right.
What about the bull market or the bear market?
Oh, well, you see, if you wanted to ask about them, I have experts for the bear market, for instance. We have Fozzie Bear.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, and thank you.
Well, Fozzie, it's a delight to have you with us. Can you tell us what is a bear market?
Yes, Ted, well, thank you. Being a bear myself, that is one of the first things we bears are taught in the caves. If I recall, a bear market is where prices are going down for a long period of time. Thank you.
That sounds like a rather nasty market indeed. What about a bull market, Kermit?
Well, the bull market, by contrast, is the market where the stocks are generally going up.
So one would wish, I suppose, for a bull market to drive the bears out.
No, we don't want that. We never want that.
Well, there you have a visual demonstration, Ted.
Moving right along with two birds of a feather. We're in this together,
and we know where we're going.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is such a thrill for moi to be here with my frog as host and hostess of these Emmy Awards.
No, Miss Piggy. You see, they just want us to read the rules.
You are putting me on.
That's it.
Are you out of your mind?
How can you give out awards unless people know how they were nominated in the first place?
Who cares?
Rule.
Yeah, brother.
All nominations for Emmy Awards were made by members of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, and some members of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences voting in their specialization.
Boring.
Now, come on, let's go, Miss Piggy.
No.
But we're finished.
I'm not.
But they got a whole show to do here.
I don't care.
But Piggy.
I am not leaving until I get a close-up. All right, I want a close-up. Get the hair, the eyelashes. Give me a single. Cut the frog. Okay, that's it.
I'm sorry about this, guys. Come on.
Will you get your flippers off my hips?
Well, come on. Come on, just move the pork.
Move this.
Moving right along.
footloose and fancy free.
You ready for the big time?
Is it ready for me?
The enormous impact of his work, he would just think that he presented the world with real life. He never had a tainted view on life. And he presented a very honest and joyful appreciation for life. And I don't think that he would think that that was his invention. And it wasn't really. And that's what life is.
I'm sure Jim didn't think in terms of boundaries at all the way the rest of us do. I mean, we can't do that because, we can't do this because, and we couldn't go there because, there are always these fences that we build around ourselves and our ideas. Jim seemed to have no fences. He convened a group of 20 or so people in London. And Jim actually said at that meeting, as Jim could do, let's do a children's show that brings peace to the world. He actually said that. And we, who had been around him for a long time, took it at face value and said, oh, all right, well, sure, you know. Cantus was the traveling musician and kind of guru of Fraggle Rock.
Music grows in the rose, rock and rain and the blowing snowstorm. Everything seems to sing everywhere I go.
He talked in wonderfully enigmatic riddles that were really very wise. Jim played that character with such commitment and belief.
Let me be your song.
Fraggle Rock became a sort of environmental metaphor show in which different species lived, sometimes in harmony and sometimes in disharmony. Species that were interdependent on each other, but without fully realizing how interdependent.
I say 1, 2, play me do. Let me sound as sweet as you. Play me wide, play me long. Let me be your song.
But I think what he was probably most known for was the silly and fun and clean and innocent and childlike, naive and pure. That's not all Jim was.
I think having started with the simplicity of the Muppets and the utter simple charm, even in terms of color and harmonies and language, everything was simple and beautiful. The size of it was right. It was Jim. But I think in him, and obviously it's so, I mean, by the films that he produced, that there was a darker, cavernous place he was busting to get to.
Jim was really intrigued by the work of the British illustrator Brian Froud, and he wanted to translate Froud's visual ideas to 3 dimensions, which became the basis for the film The Dark Crystal. He wanted to go off and push that envelope, and whether it's successful or not, he just wanted to do it.
I wanted to create the world first. I wanted to start with a visual world of what these characters looked like and what the whole place was. Plants, trees, rocks, all of that, and then have the story grow.
Like all coming-of-age stories, The Dark Crystal gives the young hero a task much greater than he thinks he's capable of. It's the test he must face, not just to find his way in the world, but to find himself.
Master? What's wrong?
You are in danger. The Skeksis will vow to destroy you. For the prophecy says you must find the shard. The crystal shard.
The crystal shard?
To save our world.
But, Master, I'm only a gelfling.
I should have told you these things long ago.
Master.
I remember going to a screening in Universal with the executives for the first time, showing them Dark Crystal. And the movie went on for an hour and a half, whatever it took. And the movie went off. It was dead silence. The executives walked out the room, didn't say a thing to Jim or me. And he really felt lousy then. They just stood up and walked out. Not a word was spoken after 2-3 years in this movie.
Because all artists are pigeonholed. Everybody, whatever they do for a living, they're pigeonholed. You're a TV guy, you're a book illustrator, or you're a painter. You're a musician, you're a dancer. And there should be a dancer who is a painter. Ay, mamma mia, what are you going to do with this person? He agreed with me about the frustration of being pigeonholed in that way. And although Jim was kinder and gentler than me, hurt him very much. He could have stayed with this stuff forever. But that he struggled, and he was honest in his struggle. He never pretended that he knew how to get there. None of us know how to get there.
He's primarily a creature of television, Jim. I think he was formed out of that tradition and inspired by that tradition. But when he did go into film, he used, again, that same attitude towards technology, as technology being a friend, basically. And he was a very much more quiet kind of person about what he was doing. And I realized that he was at the same level we were in terms of use of electronics for film. So he very quietly was a real technological innovator.
And it's fun for us to try to do these things which are quite complicated technically. At the same time, I'm not sure it does anything that much better than you know, the old sock puppets, which are like Kermit. So it's two different kinds of things.
Ain't it? Now, would you go left or right?
And I think the more technical stuff probably is more interesting to me than to a lot of the audience. But on the other hand, it does enable us to do different kinds of things and things that we've never been able to do before.
When Labyrinth released and didn't do well, and had taken such a substantial amount of his time and energy, I think he punished himself a little bit, which is natural if you've done a string of pretty much only successes for years and years and years. I think that was a hard time for him. It was a very hard time.
But he always had this optimism. He always felt it was going to be okay. He always thought it was going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And he was discouraged, sure. But he was extraordinary. He was such a realist and an optimist at the same time.
His vision was a very simple one about life and about people, and a very honest one. The vision of the world of Muppets and the world of Dark Crystal and the world of Labyrinth and world and world and world. You know, how many worlds can one guy have in his head? But he had a lot. And they were still coming fast and furious.
No!
Coward!
Hey, Mac, what's the cat of the day?
Persian.
Long hairs make you cough, Rusty. We'll just split a diet tabby.
Got it.
You know the rules. No cash, no kibble.
Let's take one of our regular characters. Say, for example, Gonzo. Gonzo doesn't have real hands.
Did not have real hands? Wait a minute. That's a ludicrous thing to say. This man is deranged. Of course I have real hands.
So what are you gonna do, Milton?
Well, I guess I'll just have to go where no toad has gone before. Find someplace far away from here where I can sing my song without having to worry about the uprights.
Despite the unsubstantiated rumors that there is a glitch in the system.
No, it's Crasher. It looks like he's trying to break out.
What?
Morning! You not bother.
Huh?
You done the bugger.
Look, hey, that's me. And my mom. And Dad. My mom and Dad.
He tried never to repeat himself ever in his career, and I think he was, you know, stunning at that, and always breaking new ground.
When people told themselves their past with stories, explained their present with stories, foretold the future with stories, the best place by the fire was kept for the storyteller.
The Storyteller series was in so many ways a culmination of everything that my father had been striving for. He and his collaborators in England combined all of their craft and technology and imagination to explore traditional folk tales with their layers of meaning, and out of that they created fables for a modern audience.
One of the 2 or 3 best things that Jim ever did, they're told in a style with a mix of puppets and people that is absolutely unique. I don't think anybody has ever done storytelling quite like this.
I think Jim always looked at the medium of television as a way to express his ideas. He used the technology to its utmost. He invented new technologies, but basically what Jim wanted to do was get his notions and his ideas across.
He was fully aware and became more aware of the bigness of the Muppets, bigness in the sense of how they're accepted, but he also was more aware, and more importantly aware, that it didn't matter in the long run, that all that mattered was keep on doing good work.
Jim inspired people to do huge amounts of work. Jim pushed everybody to do far more work than they could have dreamt they were capable of, and I think primarily he did it by pushing himself. And year after year, we watched him push himself beyond what we could possibly imagine.
Jim was a work in progress from the time he was born to the day he died. He just was this walking idea machine.
Everything he wanted to do was impossible. Everything he wanted to do had never been done before.
People would always say, geez, Jim's taking on way too much now. There's no way Jim can do that. And of course, Jim would always do it, period.
He had what he thought was a relentless head cold. When he finally realized that he was really feeling quite ill, he went to the hospital and he had a little spot of pneumonia that became most of his body over a matter of 2 hours or so. And he was 53.
I wanted to read a little bit from a piece that my father wrote a couple of years ago. He writes, "When I was young, my ambition was to be one of the people who makes a difference in this world. My hope still is to leave this world a little bit better than it was when I got here."
There was also a letter specifically from him to the kids. "Please watch out for each other and love and forgive everybody. It's a good life. Enjoy it." This all may sound silly and over the top to you guys, but what the hell, I'm gone, and who can argue with me?
Jim Henson must be very proud at this moment to see that his kids were hanging around and playing with this stuff, were able, with the shocking events of his leaving, to pick up, and basically Jim Henson Productions is, in a way, a more solid and successful company today than even it was at the time of his death. It's a kind of immortality, is that what he instilled in his colleagues, his co-workers, the puppeteers, the team, his own children, was what he gave them basically doesn't die.
Being a dreamer was what he really was. That song in the Muppet movie is right.
And there you have it, friends. That's great performances.
Oh, I just love culture.
Yes.
Let's get a corn dog.
Piggy.
Come on, let's go. My door's locked. Oh, we gotta see the whole thing again.